Good morning and welcome to the Mount Baker Snoqualmie Forest. I woke up this morning and I already knew I wanted to come up to Baker Lake and see if there is any fall color left, and hopefully there would be some fog coming in off the lake. But it's not a lot of color right at the moment. I'm going to continue going up the lake. I'm just taking a good old Sunday drive out in nature today. So I'll go up further on the lake, but right now I stopped at the Trail of Shadows, which is just a little interpretive trail at the beginning of the south end of Baker Lake, and you just walk through the old growth forest. Not any spectacular views. It's honestly just the forest and talking about the forest. It's on a boardwalk, which is pretty slippery this morning. There is frost around, but hopefully what I'm looking for on this trail is sunlight streaming through the trees, backlit leaves. Yeah, just anything that kind of says fall in the Pacific Northwest. I love ferns that have a little bit of frost along the edges. It really helps define the fronds of the fern and the leaves behind it even. And what I found here was this wonderful sword fern that has some of the fronds are coming up and twisting and embracing each other, and they all have frost along the edges. So I've got a composition where I've just got all the fronds that I'm looking at. There's about 3 of them that I'm really looking at that look like they're embracing each other. And so I'm going to go ahead and get an image of that. It's at f10 because I really want to be able to get a lot of depth of field, which takes me down to 1/4 of a second since I'm at ISO 100, and there's not a lot of light here. We do have a breeze, so I have to wait for the breeze to settle down just so I can get the image, the fronds sharp. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just waiting for it to die down. And I've got about a 2-second timer on it. I do have 2 seconds. It's not about, it is. And oh, it looks like it's there, and it looks good. Oh yeah, it does look good. The image is really pretty. And yeah, I'm going to play around with this a little bit more because there's a lot of detail here that I want to capture. And so I'll be here just a little bit longer. There's also light streaming through that kind of hits the leaves every now and then, so I'll be able to try and get something like that if that happens again. It's, like I said, a thick forest. It's an old growth forest, and there's a lot to photograph here. I moved just a little bit. In fact, hi. And because I found this really small vignette of one frond and a couple of berry leaves. I believe it's it might be a salmonberry, but I'm not positive. But just one frond and some leaves from the berry bush, and they're just coming together in unity. And so kind of had to move around because there's a lot of things blocking it, and I'm not positive it's going to work out. I had to open up my aperture really wide so I could have a very narrow depth of focus for this. But so it was like at a 1/10 of a second at 6.3 at ISO 100. But I really wanted to make sure that everything around this frond and the little leaves was out of focus, and I think it's going to be kind of cute if it turns out. All the times I've been up here, I've been coming up here since I was a little girl, and all the times I don't remember ever stopping in this forest on this trail to look at this beautiful woodland. It's just gorgeous. A lot of difficulty trying to find something that's simple that you can photograph. And actually, while I'm talking to you, I am going to have to set up an image right here, and I'll be right back. One thing you learn really quickly when you're photographing in a forest, or especially in the Pacific Northwest, because the trees here are so dense, that when light happens, when light hits a subject, you need to get your tripod set up and your camera out quickly, because that light's going to fade. And I found this really beautiful moss-covered branch, has a fork in it, and the light hit it. It also hit some of the branches, the bushes behind it, but I just kept it at a really wide open, again a 6.3 aperture, and it's 1/30th of a second. I don't care if the stuff in the background blurs out at all. That's, in fact, I wanted it to, so even if the wind hit it and kind of gave it some motion, that was fine with me, because the stick is sturdy enough that it wasn't, unless it was a stiff breeze, it wasn't going to move. And which is actually moving right now, but the light had hit it, and the light is starting to fade on it. So yeah, you need to, if there's any lesson you need to learn about photographing in a woodland, is when the light hits it, get the photo, because it might disappear in the next couple seconds, or it might hang around because now it's coming back again. But you never know, so be ready and be prepared. One thing you'll hear every woodland photographer say is that forests are very chaotic. There's growth everywhere. I like to say life happens. They'll find any way, especially in the Pacific Northwest, they'll find any way to get nutrients from the roots and into the trunk, and they'll find any way they can get sunlight to come down through the same trunk into the roots. It's a constant movement of nutrients and life that happens in the forest, and everything is growing. Every inch of the forest floor has something growing on it, whether it's fungus or little bushes or flowers, moss. Even you'll find moss on the trails. There's just, everything is vying for life in the forest. So it becomes very chaotic. So you want to try and find scenes that make order of that chaos. And you'll hear every other woodland photographer say that too, is find the order in the chaos and photograph that. So what I've got here is, I love this fallen tree, this stump here. And there's, like you see, there's moss growing off on it, every surface that can bear life, bearing life, including a bush coming right out of the top. And that's a little huckleberry bush. And there's still a few leaves on it. Oh, there's some light coming in behind it. And, ooh, that's going to be pretty. But, so I've got focused in on the huckleberry bush coming out of that. And I'm not too sure. I'm trying to make sure that it looks like I'm going to need to adjust my focus, because I don't want the moss on that front part of that, in front of it, to be too out of focus. I want it to be a little bit sharp. So I'm going to have to adjust my focus. But I'm just playing with this right now, adjusting my focus, adjusting my aperture to get everything in front in focus, but everything else I want in back. And there's light coming in and out of the back, but it really kind of helps. It kind of, to me, this shows a bit of the chaos, because this little branch is just growing out of the stump, and just, it's also all twisted, but it's also a very simple image to make sense of. So I hope you like it. Came across this nurse log, and it just has all this beautiful life happening on it, and almost every little leaf, every little moss frond, every little fern frond has frost on it. So I think I'm going to stick here for a little while and see if I can find any really cool compositions. The end of the Shadow of the Sentinels trail here at Baker Lake at the base of Mount Baker. It was a sweet, lovely little trail. Had not a lot of fall color, but there's a lot of fun stuff to photograph. And if you want woodland photography and you're just a little overwhelmed by the chaos that you're looking at, try lesson number 1. Let's make this into a couple of lessons here. Lesson number 1 would be to look for the smaller images, the little vignettes, or what I like to call the flash fiction of photography, the little pieces that help make sense of the overall magnitude of the chaos. Find little places and little leaves that are fallen, or pockets of moss and bushes and ferns that help you to organize the chaos that you see. Now, I certainly hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you're up in Mount Baker area and come out to Baker Lake, make sure you stop by the little interpretive trail here. It's a wonderful little thing that gives you a lot greater understanding of the forests in our area. And if you did like the content of this video, make sure you hit that like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. I mean, I've got a lot more of these that are coming along, and for those of you who have already subscribed, thank you so very much.